Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Alex. I am the host of the In the Moment with Alex Manzi podcast. I'm a coach and I help people with their mental health, with building relationships, and essentially to help people change the relationship they have with their thinking, to free up their mind and the fresh sense of self-belief that comes with that. And before I was a coach, I used to actually work in the music industry for a long time. I worked in the music industry for 8 years, from 2010 when I started out as a blogger to eventually working at the BBC for BBC Radio 1 Extra and Radio 1, and then eventually working at Spotify. And throughout my time in the industry, I met a lot of amazing individuals. And it's around in that time period where I started my podcast 6 years ago. And I was reflecting recently on, 6 years of podcasting. And I realized that there's so many amazing episodes that I recorded a few years ago that I decided to basically bring some back to the surface and reshare some of the gold that's in some of those episodes. In this episode today, I'm talking to my good friend and amazing singer, Sinead Harnett. We're talking about, in this very clip, about self-love and cultivating that positive feeling for yourself and all of the magical things that happen when you're coming from that space. So if you like what you hear in this video, make sure you hit that like button, be sure to hit subscribe for more videos, and I'll catch you on the other side. How do you keep yourself in check through that? Because I've been on tour with Moz and Jay, who are mutual friends, and I literally did 3 days, and it was the most intense 3 days ever, 3 different countries.
Yeah.
And I was exhausted. So doing that for 10 days on your own tour, when you've got I didn't even have to perform, when you've got to perform every night, how do you keep yourself in check in terms of making sure that you're turning up as best as you can every night, make sure you're getting rest, or I don't know, that kind of vibe,
The schedule was for the first 5 cities we were in California, so the venues were not in geographical order. It was one day was in LA, then the next one was San Fran, which is an 8-hour drive, then back up to near LA and Santa Ana, and so it was darted around. So you sort of wake up, do the long drive, get to the place, do the sound check. And obviously these people that are doing the sound are just people that work there. They're not people that know my music.
Yeah.
So every sound check was quite an upward mountain, uphill mountain. And then I'd do a meet and greet, and then I'd get ready and I'd do the show. And there's no time to do anything but be switched on and be, I guess, your best performing self. And I think how you get through it is you just remember how lucky you are and what a privilege it is to get to do that. And also I was this is my first tour, I don't know when the next one's going to be, I need to soak it all up. And I would get as much sleep as I could. I would be sleeping on that coach. Well, it wasn't a coach, it was a splitter van to the next place. And I wasn't partying at all because I need to save my voice.
Yeah, of course.
10 shows is quite intense, and I try and take it there. I try and go to church in the set. Yeah. So I had to just self-care, really.
That's it. And and I've been to one of your live shows, and they're it's sick because you do go in with the vocals, and you are quite interactive with the crowd, and you make it feel like it's not a show, it's an inclusive environment, which is amazing. But like you said, it's performance for 10 days. I don't know if it was 10 days in a row or over the course of 2 weeks, but it's still, there's that intensity level to it, and it must be quite exhausting. I would be exhausted. I'm exhausted thinking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, by the end, I wasn't myself. I was really, really shattered, and it had become quite isolating because you're with your band, of course, and the TM, and this guy Tyler that was driving us around, and then there was another guy called Christian. So you're with your colleagues, but you're constantly confined, in the splitter. Then you get to the venue, it's the 4 walls of the venue. I think the most nature that I got, which actually calms me down and makes me feel at peace, was probably San Diego, because we had 2 days there. It was sunny. For the rest of the tour, it was it was mad. It's the nicest prison being on tour.
Yeah.
Because you don't really get much time to yourself or outside. So, by the end of it, I really needed a lot of time to adjust. I wasn't really ready to see anyone, and like loads of people flew out. My boyfriend, my cousin, like my mum, and yeah, it was a lot.
What's the first thing you did when you came home then?
Well, so the last show was in New York, and the sound guy actually hadn't turned the mic on, so I came out and I did my big like dramatic walk, and then I started singing and nothing came out. And that was really hard to be the finale show, because obviously we as a band had like got this so tight, and you know, I just learned you get what you're given and you just have to make it as good as possible. So I then spent 4 days in New York, and then I flew home, and so I was sort of semi-working in New York. There's like meetings to do, and then when I got back here, I launched straight back into work. So I don't really know what's the first thing. The first thing I've done is worked, but I've also cooked for myself, and like, you know, like when you just want to nest and like have a bath, I've got to do all of those things now. So that's nice.
Yeah. What's your? Because I'm like big into like self-care routines, right? So I'm into like my exercise, my meditation, my yoga. You know, there's other things that fall into that, but they're the kind of main three things that I was like, when I'm here, when I'm home a lot, but like when I'm here and I'm busy, I try and make sure I fit them all into, like, because I know that if I can do all of those things, I know that I can show up as good as possible in every other area. They're like my like non-negotiables. What are yours when you're home?
You're great. That's amazing. What?
I mean, I'm not a guru or like the Dalai Lama, but I try to do them as much as possible, you know?
No, that's a really incredible example to all of us. Non-negotiables being the important phrase. My routine is similar to yours. Obviously, I can't always tend to it as perfectly as I'd like to. Some weeks are busier than others. Some, obviously, I'm not at home at all. I got into this phase for a while where every Monday morning I'd use Headspace, the app, and then I'd like open the curtains and like speak to the universe and be like, what do I want to achieve this week? What am I grateful that I achieved last week, and what do I want for the rest of this year? That's fallen off a little bit just because Monday sometimes I might have gotten in late from the studio on a Sunday, so it might not always happen. But generally, meditation. I really enjoy cooking for myself because I know what's in the food. I was telling you earlier, I've recently cut out meat, so like I'm getting more creative with cooking because you have to. Yeah. You don't want to eat lentils every day. And even though I'm always thinking about work, I try to see my friends and family like as much as possible, because I feel like being balanced is what we all are chasing, but it's just hard to do it, so you really have to make the time. Meditation, seeing friends and fam, and like just chilling. I feel like staying in is so underrated.
That's a massive self-care thing, 100%. Like
100.
Like most of my Fridays are at home these days, like watching a film.
Yeah,
like that to me is like a blissful moment.
It is so blissful.
It's almost like my happy place, I'd say.
Yeah,
like definitely just switch off, like don't think about work, and just put the TV on, put a film on or a program, and just sit there and just like unwind.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I also find it like really interesting how you were just saying like about trying to keep the balance. Like I find it massively fascinating how the things that we know are good for us are always the things that are the first thing to fall out the window when we're busy. Yeah. Like they're the first things that we park. Yeah. It's just like, just find it mad. It's like, why have we got ourselves into a mindset where we think that's acceptable? It's like, oh, I'm really busy, I can't do my yoga or my meditation, but ultimately that's the thing that's good for you. I get into a bit of a pattern where I will choose extra sleep over the self-care stuff, because I feel like if I get ill, like my job is my voice, so it's really hard like if I'm ill to do that. So even on tour, like I made the excuse when I was waking up at like 10 or 11, which generally at home I really don't like doing because it doesn't make me feel like I've seized the day. Yeah. But yeah, on tour, like I'd wake up later and I'd be like, you need that for your voice. So
Yeah, it is interesting as like we're both creative people, how you'll always put work things first, and like it is hard to make time for self-care because it's, you know, we want to put the people we love above everything as well. So yeah, maybe we need to like book ourselves massages more or something.
Yeah, definitely. Like I go to physio like regularly, like every 2 weeks, and sometimes it's to treat something, like some niggle I might feel in my back, or like some tension I might have in my hip. But more often than not, I just like, I'll go and just be like, yeah, can you just like just loosen up my legs, like just give me like a sports massage on my legs, just because it's like it ultimately it feels good. And because like I said, I exercise quite a lot, like or when you're sitting down, you're putting quite a lot of pressure on your legs without realizing it. So it's just nice to like have that. It's a bit of, again, it's a bit of like a kind of like mindfulness moment for me. Do you know what I mean? Because you're just in the zone, just like, yeah, this feels good, even though it's like killing me.
Whenever I've booked myself a massage, it's funny, I do find myself thinking for the first like 20 minutes. A lot of the thoughts are, oh no, this is so good, I don't want this to end. And then like things like, oh, is this enough tension? And like I can definitely see my thoughts way clearer because I'm like in a dark room and I am purposefully making the time for me. It's almost like the thoughts the other way to torture you, so you don't fully get the self-care. It's hilarious. But then by like the last half an hour, I'm like, I'm really pleased I did this. Like this is the only time that I'm not at the computer like sorting out admin, or at the microphone trying to do a good ad-lib, or on my notepad trying to write the best lyrics. So yeah, that's something, when you book time for yourself, I think it's so much easier to do the self-care. It's just when work gets on top, it's pretty tough
100%
to keep that up.
And that's, again, it goes back to, that's why it's important. That's why I call them non-negotiables, because it's like, that's how they should be. Like if I'm running late for work, I am still 100% going to find time for my meditation, or do you know what I mean? Or I'll just get up a bit earlier to go to the gym, because I know that if I've got to be at work a bit earlier, I have to do that a bit earlier. Like it's just
Are you familiar with Lizzo?
Yeah.
So one of her like sayings or quotes in her show is, she says, if you can love me, you can love you. And if you love me, Lizzo, if you can love me, the woman I am on this stage, like all the hardship I've been through, you can love you. Like you've bought tickets to see me, so, you know, spend that money on you sometimes, kind of thing. I think similarly, I wouldn't say to my sister or my other sister, do you know what? Don't have that bath tonight. You need to do more work.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we need to treat ourselves how we would treat our loved ones, but it's very easy for us to put ourselves on the back burner, just because I feel like naturally as human beings, like we're striving for more all the time. Like for me, I'm like, how can I write better songs? How can I engage fans more deeply? But actually, sometimes that can just be too much chaos from trying so hard that you need to like rein yourself in sometimes and think, how would I talk to my sister or my boyfriend about this? I wouldn't make them do that, so I shouldn't make myself.